So, wild drama in the Big 12. Intra-conference transfer. Ashley Hodge of Sikkim 365 starts posting about Rob Wright, this star freshman from from Baylor leaving for BYU. The first tweet that he gave, that was like, Rob Wright is leaving. From there, Baylor fans were shocked at this news. They're like, okay, Robert Wright III, he was supposed to be kind of a stud for us next season. He's going to be the future of Baylor basketball. No, not only is he leaving, but now there are reports that he'll make $3.5 million at BYU. Now, Dallin Hall is gone. Stay Gore-Demon is gone. Gore-Demon, he is gone. And Robert Wright is headed to BYU. And the first thing that Baylor fans said to this, the first thing that they said when they saw this was, tampering, I say. BYU must have done something nefarious. BYU must have done something that was evil. Listening to Baylor podcasts, reading articles, hearing fans, they are all so angry that BYU broke the law. Buddy, I had Jerem Jordan on this show a couple weeks ago. And you know what he told me? He looked me in the eyes virtually. And he said, Drake, used to BYU couldn't really compete with the schools that were doing dirty things under the table. You know, they were paying their players before NIL. But now that it's above table, now that it's public, BYU's rich. And we're going to spend the money. Ashley Hodge says, who, by the way, love Ashley Hodge, former employer. That dude rocks. And when he reports something, he's straight down the middle with it. He is ticked off at Rob Wright because he is so invested in Baylor basketball. And I'll get to that in a second here. There was a lack of loyalty. Rob Wright, who had, according to sources, told the Baylor staff he was going to stay, they can build the team around him, he decided to leave for money, for an opportunity with BYU. Do I blame the kid? Well, there's a bit of disloyalty there. Is he also 19? Yes. Are agents involved who want to get paid? Yes. Are families involved who also want to get paid? Probably. So I'm going to refrain from completely going into the kid and give you what Ashley Hodge says. If Rob Wright is worth $3.5 million to BYU, imagine how much Richie Saunders is worth. Has to be north of $4 million. BYU must have the biggest NIL budget in college basketball. Hey, Ashley, friend, everyone in America, the conference, please, if I could have your attention, they do. They're rich. BYU has money. And it's not a bad thing. Before you're like, oh, shoot, that evil podcast man said that BYU's rich and they have money. That's all we care. It's not all you care about. BYU has very crisp values. But also, you don't have to complain for being rich. You don't have to complain. The owner of the Utah Jazz is a BYU fan. And if I may surprise you by this, the owner of the Utah Jazz likes basketball. It's kind of a thing he's invested in. So seeing BYU be good at basketball, Ryan Smith is all about that. And maybe Richie Saunders is worth north of $4 million. Keba Keita coming back to the program, maybe he is making $1 million and wouldn't anywhere else. When Kevin Young says, excuse me, NIL Collective, jump. The NIL Collective says we're already 30,000 feet in the sky on our private jets. We don't need to jump, Kevin. What do you want? And they give it to him. You know why they do that? Because they can. Because they have it. And guess what? If you give $15 million to football or $15 million to basketball, $15 million to football, which is where everybody wants to win, it's kind of divvied out or spread out enough. There's 22 guys who start on offense and defense. And what if that guy gets hurt? And how do we? It's just tough to make $15 million go as long of a way in football as it is with your 6 guys in basketball who can be elite. And BYU is going, we got a lot of dudes who are sticking around here. Even with Yegor Demon out, we just got our point guard and Rob Wright. So now that we have him and we can afford to pay him, why don't we pay him? Rob Wright III had a huge game at BYU this season, too. So him going there is another storyline with itself. Like, BYU fans should be familiar with this guy if they watch BYU basketball. And is this part of the problem with the transfer portal? Baylor fans are angry. It seems like, per sources, the Baylor coaching staff is angry with the decision Rob Wright made because he had alluded to coming back to Baylor. They're trying to build the program around him. They had told no, according to some tweets to, elite. Myron Metcalf, I think, tweeted that they had told other elite recruits, no, we're not going to do this. Like, we Rob Wright is the guy we're building our program around, so we can't take you. And then he was gone. I don't know. I wasn't in those conversations. But I can tell you that number 23 overall player from last year's class, number 1 point guard in the country, had an opportunity at BYU to step into a program who's going to compete for a national championship. He's probably looking around the Baylor locker room going, there is no one else in the locker room. I don't who am I going to play with next year? And the Baylor staff's like, yeah, well, we can get this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. And someone gets the phone and at BYU and says, someone associated with BYU, somebody in the camp picks up the phone and says, hey, there's an opportunity here. And that's where I want to get into the tampering conversation. I'll back up a bit for this. Okay. Tampering doesn't exist in college football because it's so prevalent that there isn't an appropriate word to actually describe to you what tampering has become. Now, that may sound crazy. That may sound really convoluted, but it's not. Hear me out. Everyone's got a strength and conditioning coach on their own, a personal trainer, a speed coach. That speed coach has friends who are, fans of BYU, who are fans of Arkansas. And if I am John Tyson at Arkansas and I want to see a certain basketball player play for the Arkansas Razorbacks, I reach out to that kid's speed coach and just say, hey, by the way, if Arkansas, was an option, I'm willing, out of my pocket, to give him $3.5 million. And the speed coach pulls the phone up and goes, hey, kid, I know you're 19 years old. You had a great season last year. You're kind of wondering what your year's going to look like next year at whatever university you're at. What about $3.5 million to play for Arkansas? Click. Yeah, I'm in. Sweet. Sign the paper. Was that tampering? Because the Tyson family, they're not involved actually with the program directly as somebody member of staff or who gets paid by the university. They don't have an email, they don't have Tyson@uark.com. Ryan Smith, if I pick up the phone, okay? If I pick up the phone as a Baylor alumni and I call Hunter Dickinson and I say, Hunter, I will ensure that you get $5 million to play for the Baylor Bears. He's out of eligibility, so I'm using him as an example. I give you $5 million to play for the Baylor Bears. I can do that. The NCAA can't fine me. They don't govern my body. I get to decide what I want to do with my money. So where's the people are like, oh, BYU cheated, oh, they're tampering. No. There's no such thing as tampering. Right. Ryan Smith can do whatever he wants. And it may not have even been Ryan Smith that made this happen. Kevin Young can't do whatever he wants, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. And guess what? Maybe there's a world where that speed coach got Kevin Young's number and texted Kevin Young and said, we're in. Okay, Kevin Young didn't respond, but now what is he supposed to just erase that from the record? Erase it from his brain? I don't think someone on staff at BYU was hunting down Rob Wright. I don't. I do think Rob Wright's personal trainer, Rob Wright's friend from high school, was reached out to. Had to be, because he knew somebody in his family was reached out to by a donor, man. That's who brokers this stuff. And is it tampering if an assistant coach is like, man, would love to have these, here's a wish list of guys, if they enter the portal, we would love to have them, just kind of speaking out loud, and the right donor hears it. I don't know how you police that. Oh, this guy said a player's name in the vicinity of a guy who's a donor, so that's tampering. I don't think so. I think Baylor fans, you gotta calm down a little bit with this. It's the nature of college basketball. Just give them more money then. That's what it is today. Have more money than BYU. If you want him to stay, if you want him to be a valued part of Baylor moving forward, and money is important to the kid, then give him more money. Well, money shouldn't be important to the kid. Then good. If that's your stance, is that money shouldn't be important to the kid, that this is just a money-hungry little grubby man. If that's your stance, then shouldn't you be happy he's gone? Shouldn't you just kind of take that and be like, all right, sweet, didn't work out, right? Shouldn't you just not be, if that's not who you wanted anyway, right? The money grubber. I don't know if he is, though. I can't. It's hard for me to say. That's a lot of money to weigh around in somebody's face, and I don't know the kid's situation. I know Darian DeVries and these coaches. I mean, some of them, they give their word. They give their word publicly, and then they don't even talk to their team, and they leave in the middle of the night. Rob Wright's like, oh, I can change the trajectory of my entire life and my family's life with $3.5 million, or make less than that at Baylor. Okay. If I was in the NBA, I would just take the larger contract. Why can't I when I'm in college? Huh? I mean, if I was doing this for a job, I could just go where there was more money, right? Like Messi did, right? Why can't I right now? That's the question he's asking himself. And he's completely valid to ask that question because you can. It is a job. Now, it's the nature of college athletics. No tampering. Shut up. This has been and always will be. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.